Hey everybody, welcome to News from Heaven. This is the show where we try to figure out life and the mind by taking a walk through Swedenborg's material with our annotator in hand. And today we're going to be giving you two kinds of angel power. We're going to be talking about the power in you and the power in the spiritual world. These are two modes of power that angels pack. But why does it matter if angels have any power? Well, when we're going through our day, when we're going through our week, and all kinds of negative stuff is coming at us, the fears about how we're in this world we can't control at all, and things just seem to happen that we can't prevent, and it's very hard to recover from. It seems like people are against us, larger forces are all bearing down on us. One of the most comforting concepts can be this idea that people have been saying is accurate for thousands and thousands of years, that there are helpers, that even within our mental sphere, even within the unseen world, there are these super nice, ultra powerful beings that have our back in some way. Doesn't mean nothing's going to happen, but somehow we are safer because they exist. But if these guys have no power, they can't do anything, then I'm so glad that you care, but you're not hooking me up. I don't feel any safer. So can we get some assurance that they do have power? But if they've got power, why is life so bad in the first place? Where do you see their power? We never have it like ABC News. This angel just knocked over a giant tree or something like that. Wow, is that powerful? So where's the angel power showing up? Because you think it would leave some kind of footprints. Swedenborg describes it in Heaven and Hell. You can download that link in the description. And he begins by entitling a chapter, The Power of Angels. And he says, so just in case it comes out guns blazing at people who don't think angels have power. People who do not know anything about the spiritual world and its inflow into the natural world. So we've got starting to get components here. We've got a spiritual world, right? Could anything be more beautiful than that? And then we've got a natural world. I'll try to finish this sentence before I do any more drawing. People who do not know anything about the spiritual world and its inflow into the natural world. Sorry, I've got to just draw a little tiny inflow. So we've got a spiritual world inflowing into a natural world. Cannot grasp the fact that angels, left-handed is hard, have power. So right away, he's not saying, of course they have power, just trust me. Or, of course they have power, haven't you noticed that they have power? He's saying you got to know some mechanics. You have to have paid attention in your spiritual physics class in order to know that angels have power. And it has something to do with this, the way the spiritual world and the physical world interact. Angels being spiritual, us being physical, encasing the spiritual. They think, these people, again, these people he's going after. I mean, this was the 18th century style, is to really find your enemies and destroy them, intellectually. They think that angels cannot have power because they are spiritual and so pure and insubstantial that they cannot even be seen by our eyes. And this, again, is the concept I don't think as rampant today as it was in the 18th. Back then, you really had people philosophizing that there is a spiritual dimension, but look, the physical world is so present and so real, and we don't see it affected by spiritual forces, so anything spiritual has got to be kind of wispy and wafy and doesn't really have the ability to impact anything like material does. These days, I think because of our friend, the near-death experience and all kinds of recorded spiritual experiences, people are very familiar with the idea of a concrete, tangible afterlife where there are angels and spirits and things that are people like us. Watch any movie watch Ghost with Patrick Swayze. The spirits have a human form and they can do things, they can mold clay, or you know what I'm talking about. People who probe more deeply into the causes of things, though, and that is going to be us. Right now, hopefully, if we can follow what Swedenborg is putting down, feel otherwise about it. Because we're going to have to get into a little lecture about power itself. And this is going to start our quest to look at the power in you. They are all aware that all the power we ourselves have comes from our intellect and our volition. So you have us with an intellect symbolized by a fat I, and a volition, symbolized by the V. Okay, so we've got those two faculties, you think and you feel, and he's saying all the power comes out of that. Since without these, we cannot move the slightest part of our bodies. Intellect and volition are our spiritual person. Okay, so you think about it, and I was just about to explain this, but he's about to explain it, so I'll let him do it. This person is what animates the body. The spiritual person, meaning this person, is what animates the body and its members at will, for the mouth and tongue say what it thinks, and the body does what it intends. So, obviously, you don't just think, yikes, there's a person here, there's a person's body here, what's it going to do? You're wondering, what's the person thinking? What do they want? The will and the intellect, what do they believe about life? What do they feel like is important? That's going to govern what they do, and we certainly can affect the world. And Swedenborg is saying the only thing that really affects the world is this spiritual side of you, because it tells the physical what to do. Other than every once in a while, when you're falling asleep and you get that leg kick thing, that's maybe a little more involuntary. But everything else is the spirit coming in and doing stuff. So we're establishing how the spirit has power and what really has power in us. It even, look at this next sentence. It even bestows energy at will. And I don't know exactly what you mean by that, Swedenborg. This word here has a connotation in the present day, a spiritual kind of presentation where we talk about good energy, bad energy, higher vibrational energy. We also talk about it when we're thinking about our day and, I don't have enough energy to do that. And I wonder if it's something in the middle of those that this is meant. Because he already talked about walking and talking, so it's not ATP or biological energy. Some kind of energy at will. I definitely know that there are all kinds of situations that I'm in where I have energy or I don't around the same thing. It can come in the form of spiritual concepts. There are times when the ideas that I find in Swedenborg and other comparable sources seem really alive and powerful, and the principles that I have in me I can live off of, and when I get assaulted by doubts and fears, I'm like, no, that's not true because this is true. No, that's not the way to live because this is, and I have this power, I have this energy. And other times that stuff, I just totally get overwhelmed that, let me just look at stuff on my phone and let me eat food and whatever I need to do to try to survive because I don't have energy to fight it. There's getting tasks done, all that. Are we saying that the spiritual world is really like what can flow in and make that difference there? Because that can start, you think about energy being the motivation to get things done. It's how projects happen. It's how we make decisions. This is starting to get even a more complicated relationship. Not complicated, but more powerful. That's the word we're looking for. Powerful relationship with what we do. Our intention and what's different about that? What does it mean that we go back into the spiritual world like that? Our intention and discernment are governed by the Lord through angels and spirits. Spirits can have the same color as angels, that's fine. Because if you're familiar with Swedenborg, you know there's this hierarchy of consciousness, that God is moving the entirety of reality, just like you have physical things cascading down, like you have ocean temperatures, I think, whatever leads to evaporation, that changes how much precipitation you get on land. It's all one thing leads to another in a chain. So it is with consciousness, but that moves from the divine into the heavens, into the world of spirits, into us. So this is, angels are playing a role in this thing that bestows energy at will and has all the power to move the body. And since this is true of our intention and discernment, it is true of all aspects of our bodies, because these latter come from the former. And this is all leading up to this really striking declaration that he makes. I'll highlight the whole thing as we go. Believe it or not, we cannot move a step without the inflow of heaven. It's not that we are living our lives and we are physical machines that are powered by physical molecules, and every once in a while there's some sort of intervention because heaven notices us and an angel has on their to-do list that they need to come down and help us, and they change something and then leave, and then the physical system goes back to working as it is. Our movement itself depends on heaven, because you could never, like if I tell you take a step forward, you don't do it unless you want to. only when there's some reason that activates that little thing in you that, okay, I'll take a step forward, that chain goes all the way back up to heaven. So, just as an aside, if you're ever feeling attacked by these negative thoughts and feelings who are saying, look at this, there are no angels, there's no heaven, there's no help for you, or even more deviously, we will acknowledge that there's the existence of a heaven and a God and those sorts of things. However, they're not paying attention to you. They don't care about you. They're not present. What you could do in such a situation is just take one step forward and say, oh, no, heaven is here, because I can't walk without heaven. So I have this connection. Thanks anyway for trying to ruin my life, stupid clouds. Okay, moving on. I have been shown that this is true, and here we get the Emanuel Swedenborg experience, where he's going to say, listen, I'm telling you this because I've seen this, and you need to know that this is the way that your life is operating. This is filling in the gaps of why life is like it is. I have been shown that this is true by a great deal of experience. It's not that I had one sort of trip in college. This is every day I am seeing this to be true. Just what kind of stuff is he experiencing? And the big question as we go through this mighty paragraph here is this only Swedenborg, or could we experience something like this as well? I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see if he tells us or if we can intuit it. Angels have been allowed to activate my walking, my actions, my tongue, and my conversation as they wished by flowing into my intention and thinking. And I learned firsthand that I could do nothing on my own. Now he's just told us that there's an inflow from heaven that needs to be there for every step. But it seems like there's some different experience here, because he doesn't, of course, before he had any spiritual eyes opened and started to have any kind of experience that he would use as a proof in a text about the nature of whatever we're talking about, angels in the spiritual world, he knew how to walk before. But here he's having some kind of conscious awareness. And is this a special intervention, or is he just having his perception open to something happening all the time? I'm not sure. Let's see if he tells us. But it seems to be something distinctive here. Activate, it's like an angel is, for a moment, because he's saying a great deal of experience, not my whole life. For a moment, an angel is kind of moving him like, why are you even trying to draw this? A remote control car. You ever play with one of those things? You got like a little thing. You are moving it. It seems like it's moving on its own, but you've got the controls. And the angel is kind of RC carring Emanuel Swedenborg in this situation. They told me later that everyone is governed in this way. So it can't be all the time that angels are only moving you all the time, because what about when you're doing bad things? But does it mean on occasion you're governed this way? We're at the limits of our understanding here. That we might learn this. Okay, so isn't this a weird, shocking idea that angels could be controlling people at times? That we might learn this from the doctrine of the church and from the word. In the Christianity that completely saturated Europe in Swedenborg's day, and still it and other traditions will often mention these same concepts, we actually pray that God will send his angels who may lead us, guide our steps, teach us, and inspire us as to what we should think and say. And don't you even get, like, if you win the Super Bowl or you do something well in sports, aren't there a lot of athletes that say, God gave me the ability to do it? Isn't that an idea in the culture? Swedenborg is saying, well, this can actually happen. It's not just a nicety. And so on. This, even though we talk and believe quite differently in our private thoughts apart from doctrine. Bam! So what he's saying is, hey, everybody, in the world of 18th century Europe, where I am right now, we all talk about angels leading us and guiding us, and the Lord has all power, but we don't really think that when we get home. But here he's saying, this is not just something that somebody thought up and put in a book. This is really how life works. So somehow, it sounds to me, if I had to render a verdict on this, and anybody with any real knowledge about this would, I'm sure, disagree, but if I had to render a verdict about this, I would say that what this is saying is there can be times when heaven is inspiring us to think things and say things. Have you ever, in a conversation, you ever felt like, man, I never had this idea before. Like, I'm on a roll here. Where is this coming from? I wonder if there's times, I don't know what the general mechanism is all the time, but there's times when that comes right through. Or in these emergency situations where you've heard the stories about mothers lifting cars off of their kid who is underneath, or people who in an emergency just ran towards danger. I had heard this cool podcast about people who, in these situations, there was a woman who saw another woman getting attacked by a bull in a pasture, and there was an electric fence in the way, but she just said to herself somehow, I have to do this, and just jumped in and saved this woman from the bull. And they were interviewing all these people later, and she just said, I don't know why I did it. All of them universally would say, I don't know why I did it. It had to be done. It was the thing to do, and they were all able to do these incredibly difficult things. Could this be angels are coming in? And when we say, oh, you were like an angel to me there, well, yeah, because the angels are coming through. Not bad thing to remind all the negative thoughts and feelings that even in addition to these heavenly angels that are up here, the people around us can have a direct link, and we can have a direct link. There can be a lot of angel coming through. Why did you tell us this stuff, Swedenborg? These things have been mentioned to illustrate the kind of power angels have with us. And you remember, I was promising you we would hit two kinds of power. That's the first kind. Angels have power. It seems like he's saying they don't in the physical world have the power to sweep the streets or lift a boulder, but they have power inside of us. But isn't that a little bit limited for angels? Like, oh, I'm an angel. I'm a superhero. What I can do is I can make you think something good. I can walk through you sometimes. Isn't there a time when angels are just angels and they are displaying amazing feats of divinely inspired power? Well, let's check out 229, see what happens right here. In the spiritual world, and this is the second kind of power, angels' power in the spiritual world, where they're not working through our will and our intellect. Angels have so much power that if I were to highlight everything I have seen, it would strain credulity, which means you would not be able to believe it, which is an amazing statement to come out of Swedenborg right now, because he's sitting here telling us about angels activating his walking and talking, and that he saw a spiritual world. He could talk to angels in the first place. So if he ever says, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, he saw something really intense. If anything there is in the way, and I'm going to give you a warning. I know I'm just stopping mid-sentence all the time, but I got to warn you. In this passage, you are going to hear about angels doing things that you might think, that's a little reckless and that's a little destructive for an angel. We'll have a conversation about that in a second, but I'm going to read through the passage without too much stopping. If anything there is in the way, let's just think about the power side of it first, and needs to be removed because it is opposed to the divine design. Interesting that it's not just, well, I feel like, going out and throwing rocks today. It's something that's opposed to the divine design. They raise and overturn it simply by an effort of will and a look. So all you got to do is cast your angel eyes on it. So I have seen mountains that were the abode of evil people, leveled, these would be evil people in the spiritual world, evil spirits, leveled and overturned. Sometimes shaken from end to end, as happens in our earthquakes. So they have earthquake power. I have seen cliffs split down the middle right to the bottom, and the evil people on them swallowed up. I have also seen angels scatter some hundreds of thousands of evil spirits and cast them into hell. A vast multitude is powerless against them. Again, we'll get to the ethics of it, but it is worth reminding these head clouds here, who are trying to convince, and who we've learned in other episodes, that the negative thoughts and feelings we get actually are evil spirits coming through from hell through some kind of complex mechanism as well. Good to remind them that, hey, even if you had all your cloud buddies here that are trying to make me miserable and you had 100 million other ones, an angel can just look at you and it's all wiped out. So, be nice. A vast multitude of powers against them. The skill and wiles and alliances of evil spirits amount to nothing. Interesting, he says alliances because he does talk about this hell that is very devious and sort of like a political drama on earth for another time. Angels see everything and dispel it instantly. But there is more about this in the story of Babylon destroyed. They do have this kind of power in the spiritual world. Now, I want to say that it may sound like these are chaotic scenes where angels are taking vengeance and it's a war. It's angels against evil people. This is why you need me here. Well, just in that I have done what some people would think was a complete waste of my life and read like every Swedenborg thing there ever is. And in those scenes, he's talking about a lot of which happened in the Last Judgment, which is a whole other topic we've done many shows about. It's never just, I'm getting revenge on these evil spirits, or we're just wiping them out, who cares? This is always actually done thinking about the benefit of all involved, that those angels actually love the evil spirits they're going after, and it's not just carelessly, we'll just throw this mountain and whoever falls off of it. This is a very careful transition of everybody from a place where they were actually causing more harm to innocent people and to themselves into a more contained environment. I could go on, but it's all controlled power. This is the nature of the divine power angels have. It always acts in love. It doesn't act from revenge, and it ends up doing amazing things, but with precision. What Swedenborg is trying to communicate here is the scope and the scale, that there is a power in angels that manifests in a couple of ways that is able, if it can take on a mountain full of, the kinds of spirits that would want to destroy us instantly if they could, and angels can just wipe them out with a look. What does that do next time you're starting to feel worried? You're starting to feel alone. Just knowing that, if you look at all the mess I've created here, how much of it is yellow, right? That's the truth. Angels are in us. Angels are around us. And the more we see what's really going on, the more power we understand they have. And that's the news from heaven. But you may be saying, what about where do they get that power from? Isn't God the one with power? Do God and angels ever disagree? Tune in next time where we'll be covering that very thing of where the source of angels' power is and what attitude they have to have that power. All that said, did this help at all? Did you find that comforting in any way? The idea of angelic power, does that get you to look at your own mind in a new way? Check out the comments. See how other people wrote about it. Because I know you're going to write about it, because I'm asking you right now, will you let me know, does this help? Was this episode good? Was there any concepts you could use? What were they? Because I want to know, and the people who check the comments want to know. We want to see how you take these ideas about angels and things and mechanics and spiritual weirdness and move it into something where we're happier, we're making better decisions as we go through our life. We're showing more angelic kindness to each other. Check that out, and like and subscribe. That is something that, if you got to push like on this video, that's very important to us. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe and click that bell. All that stuff you would be doing us an angelic solid. Angels, with the people who are watching, please convince them to click like. Is that corny? I probably shouldn't do that, but it's too late. I did it. So next episode, we're going to take a look at where do angels get their power from, and how could they lose that power? Next time. Hope you guys have a good week in the meantime.